They say that every child deserves a parent, but not every parent deserves a child. This statement couldn't be truer in today's case. Instead of seeing his children as tiny humans who needed his protection, Mick Philpot viewed them as personal cash cows, solely for his financial gain. His greed blinded him to their humanity in the worst possible way. Philpot was fame-hungry, narcissistic, and diagnosed as a psychopath who made the lives of those around him a living hell. In this video, we'll explore how Philpot and his accomplices took the lives of 6 young children, and what drove them to commit this heinous act. Welcome to Bloodspot. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. Mick Philpot was born in 1956 in Derby, England, and became notorious for fathering 17 children with multiple women. If you thought he had so many children out of love, you would be sadly mistaken. He possessed practically no nurturing qualities. Instead, he was an extremely violent and unpredictable man, with a toxic pattern of behavior that began with his first relationship at 19. He charmed a 15-year-old named Kim Hill, and they began dating shortly after. Initially, Kim saw Philpot as an ideal partner, but it didn't take long for his true nature to emerge. He became abusive in every conceivable way, with his violence so uncontrollable that he even beat her in public. In one incident at a pub, Philpot struck Kim across the mouth with a pool cue, causing severe bleeding while bystanders did nothing to intervene. He would find any excuse to harm her, including breaking her arm and fracturing her kneecap with a hammer because she paid too much attention to a baby she was minding. As a British Army member, he would baselessly accuse her of infidelity after returning from postings and physically assault her. One time, he even shot Kim in the groin with a crossbow because he deemed her dress too short. Still in school, Kim often lied about the cause of her injuries to protect Philpot. After 2 years of relentless abuse, in July 1978, Kim finally mustered the courage to send Philpot a breakup letter. In response, Philpot went AWOL from the army, broke into Kim's home and attacked her in bed, stabbing her 27 times with a 9-inch knife. According to Kim, he menacingly declared, "If I can't have you, no one else will." When Kim's mother intervened, Philpot stabbed her 11 times. Both Kim and her mother barely survived the attack. Despite her injuries, her mother, a nurse, crawled to a phone to call for help. Paramedics found Philpot on the stairs, still holding the bloody knife, and he chillingly told them, "I wouldn't bother, she's a goner. I've done a good job on her." Kim died twice, once in the ambulance and again on the operating table, as surgeons battled to save her life. Philpot had slashed her stomach open and inflicted numerous stab wounds. She suffered collapsed lungs and damage to her bladder, kidney, and liver. During the trial, Philpot lied, claiming he acted in self-defense, but the evidence painted a different picture. Philpot was abusive towards all his partners, even beating one for not having a girl. He instilled violent behavior in his sons as well. Heather, another partner, endured similar torment. Philpot punished her for not conceiving again by locking her outside and once held a knife to her throat when she tried to leave. Heather eventually escaped, but not before abandoning her children temporarily, eventually regaining custody after a long court battle. She described Philpot as a Jekyll and Hyde character, charming at first but later violent. In 2000, Philpot met 19-year-old Mayred Duffy, a single mother who had recently escaped an abusive relationship. She initially viewed Philpot as a guardian angel. They moved in together shortly after, and he proposed to her in the hospital following the birth of their first child, Jade. The following year, he also began a relationship with Lisa Willis, a 16-year-old orphan and single mother who moved in with them. This pattern was evident. All 3 women were teenagers when they met Philpot, having been groomed while vulnerable. Philpot married Mayred in May 2003, with Lisa as the bridesmaid. From then on, he lived with both women, fathering 11 children in a 3-bedroom council house. Both women worked while he remained unemployed, collecting their earnings and government benefits. Philpot actively sought to have more children to increase his benefit payments. He requested a larger council house for his growing family, but was denied due to a lack of availability. Despite being 7 months pregnant on their wedding day, Mayred married Philpot, who publicly defended his lifestyle. He expressed pride in his large family, blaming the council for not providing adequate housing and arguing that, as an unemployed individual, he deserved more assistance from the government. Seeking media attention for his housing situation, Philpot appeared on The Jeremy Kyle Show in 2007. During the show, he defended his lifestyle, claiming he couldn't find work due to media coverage and his criminal record.
What's wrong with a man looking after his kids other than a woman?
That's correct. What is wrong with a man looking after his children? I mean, I'm old-fashioned. I believe the man should be at work, but unfortunately, because the media keeps putting a certain story in the paper, I cannot get a job.
You can't get a job because of what?
Criminal record. I said, you do,
Why are
mate.
you so
I will
defensive?
Because when it comes to my kids, I'm very, very
I've just
defensive.
complimented your kids.
After I had a go at you.
I just said that ever
Listen, just
since...
get out, just talk to that, pal. Talk to that. You're not worth it.
I complimented your kids, and I sat and listened to you, and all I was saying was how good they looked. You have jumped out of your box with one hell of a chip on your shoulder. You haven't even had anybody say anything to you so far, and you're making signs. No. You've no reason to do that. But I'll tell you something. When a grown man who purports to be a good father, probably he is, sits on national television and does that, no wonder you can't get a damn job.
He introduced both wives on the show, unapologetically acknowledging his unconventional living arrangement. He claimed not to care about public opinion regarding his lifestyle and large family. Philpot also stated he was willing to divorce Mered to marry Lisa, and then divorce her just so she wouldn't feel excluded from the Philpot family name. By this time, he had 2 more children and was labeled Britain's biggest scrounger, raking in £25,000 a year in benefits. His attempts to garner public support for a larger house were unsuccessful. In 2007, Philpot appeared in a documentary series where then-Conservative MP Anne Widdecombe spent a week with him, trying to persuade him to change his lifestyle. She found him 3 job opportunities, but he failed to show up for work on the first day, causing the jobs to fall through. The documentary depicted Philpot living in a caravan in his garden, where his wives alternated spending nights with him. Widdecombe noted that Philpot displayed a complete lack of concern for anyone, referring to his partners in derogatory terms, and observed that none of his children sought affection from him. While many could not understand why the women in his life accepted their situation, it was clear they got along well on the surface. However, tensions between the trio reached a boiling point behind closed doors. Philpot often proclaimed, "I've got my kids and my family. That's all I care about." At one point, he tried to clarify the distribution of his children. "I've got 3 with my first marriage, 2 with another, 5 with Mered, 4 with Lisa, and 1 with another young lady, plus 2 on the way." He also mentioned a child from his time in the army, whom he had never met. Philpot asked Mered to divorce him 3 times to marry Lisa. He was given a police caution for slapping Mered and dragging her outside by her hair, and he was equally abusive towards Lisa, hitting her with a piece of wood and throwing a hot cup of coffee at her. In February 2012, Lisa finally reached her breaking point. She told Mered she was taking her 5 children swimming, but instead moved in with her sister, seeking to leave without confrontation. 3 months later, Philpot, still seething with anger and embroiled in a bitter custody battle over their children, planned to burn down their home with the children inside, intending to frame Lisa for it. The arson was scheduled for the day before a custody hearing. Philpot's motivation stemmed from greed for more benefit payments and the hope of acquiring an even larger council house. The plan involved Philpot and a family friend, Paul Mosley, pouring gasoline through the mail slot and setting the house on fire. Philpot intended to swoop in and rescue his 6 children, portraying himself as a heroic father in the process. On May 11, 2012, at 4 a.m., the plan tragically went awry. The fire spread rapidly, resulting in the deaths of 6 children. Jade, John, Jack, Jesse, and Jaden died at the scene, while their half-brother Duane passed away in the hospital 2 days later. All deaths were attributed to excessive smoke inhalation, and fire investigators reported that temperatures in the upstairs bedrooms exceeded 500 degrees Celsius, leaving no chance of survival. The police confirmed that the fire was deliberately started with petrol, classifying it as arson and officially stating that 6 children had been murdered. All these children belonged to Mered and Philpot, except for Duane, Mered's teenage son from a previous relationship. Jade, only 10 years old, was described as intelligent and well-regarded at school. 9-year-old John was cheerful, smiley, and polite. Jaden, a 5-year-old, loved cuddles and was shy. Jack, the quietest sibling at 7, was a delight to be around. Jesse, age 6, was known as the loud character in the family. Duane, the eldest victim at just 13, was a charming and caring young boy who acted as a protector for his younger siblings. No one in the community could fathom that a father could commit such an atrocity. Many who knew Philpot defended his lifestyle, arguing that negative portrayals did not reflect reality. The community was left in shock as news of the tragedy spread. Philpot's heinous actions sparked outrage, forcing society to confront the chilling reality of a father who would betray his own children for selfish gains. Ultimately, his depravity exposed the systemic failures that allowed a monster like him to thrive. On April 2, 2013, following an 8-week trial, Philpot, Mered, and Mosley were found guilty of manslaughter for the deaths of the 6 children. Philpot was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 15 years. Mayred and Mosley both got 17 years. Where are the killers now? Philpot is serving his life sentence for manslaughter at HMP Wakefield, West Yorkshire. He will be eligible for parole in 2028, but this does not guarantee his release. Mayred was released in November 2020 after serving half of her sentence. Her early release sparked public outrage, with many feeling that her punishment was insufficient given the severity of the crime. Paul Mosley was released from prison in November 2023 after serving his sentence. Like Mayred, he was let out halfway through his 17-year sentence. What do you think of this case? Do you think that justice was truly served? Let me know in the comments and subscribe to Bloodspot for more true crime cases.